Hello, I am the Story Girl, and welcome to the story of Bearskin. There once was a soldier who had spent many years fighting in a war, but the war was over now, and he was on his way home, bent for more peaceful things to do with his life. He had stopped for a moment as he was walking through a forest, stopped to have a bite of lunch on some stale bread and a little water he had taken from a nearby stream, when he heard something behind him. A growling, snorting, snarling sort of something. He spun around and saw that on the other side of the clearing there was a great brown bear with sharp teeth and sharp claws, and the soldier could tell that this bear did not want some stale bread for lunch. He whipped out his rifle and shot the bear between the eyes, and a couple of other places as well, and before the bear could make his way across the entire clearing, the bear was dead. Well, the soldier brushed off his hands, finished his lunch, packed up his gear, and was about to set off again when someone else stepped out of the forest. A little man with a bright green jacket and mischief in his eyes. This little man also had a bit of green-tinged skin about him, and the soldier looked at him warily. But this little green man clapped his hands in applause. "Well done, young master, well done! You dispatched that bear quite nicely, I must say." "Well, thank you," said the soldier, and he made to trot off, and the little green man put out his hand and waved him away and said, No, you did that so well, and I see that you're a man of cunning and strength. I would like to offer you a wager." "A wager?" said the soldier. "Why, yes. You see, I have this lovely green jacket that I am wearing, a green jacket that many would kill for. I will let you wear my jacket for 7 years, and if at the end of the 7 years you have followed my instructions exactly, then you may keep the jacket." "And why would I want a green jacket? I have my own jacket, as you can see," the soldier said, "and it suits me quite nicely, thank you very much." "Oh, but your jacket doesn't have the pockets that mine has. You see, no matter how often you reach your hand into the pockets, and no matter how much gold you pull out of those pockets, there will always be more for whenever you reach your hand in." "You don't say. Why, that would be a rather handy thing to have around." But the soldier was wary, because he had noticed that this man had mischief in his eyes. "Well, what are your requirements for this 7 years loan of your jacket?" "Well, I can't just let you have my jacket for nothing. There must be some sort of test, some sort of struggle. I've got it." And the little green man picked up the bear and shook it, and the bear dropped off, but the skin that the bear was wearing pulled off quite easily in one large piece, and he handed it to the soldier and said, "Let us say that for the next 7 years, in addition to wearing my jacket, you also wear this bear skin. And you never cut your hair, but let it grow long, and never cut your nails, and never wash. If you return to me with all of those things, all of those requirements in hand, then I will let you keep my jacket. And if not, then I get your soul." The soldier thought it over. The jacket would be very nice to have, but wearing the bearskin would be hot and heavy. Not washing would be disgusting. It would be difficult to handle knives and forks and other things with such long nails. But it might be worth the wager. The soldier shook his head and reminded himself he had been through much worse in the war. He looked up at the little green man and he said, "Done." The little green man whipped off his jacket and handed it to the soldier. The soldier plopped the jacket on and wrapped the bearskin around himself. "Do not forget," said the little green man. "We will meet here in this very clearing 7 years from now, and we will see who gets what." The soldier nodded and trotted off. He was looking forward to a very long 7 years. He walked from town to town, village to village, outposts and fortresses, and no matter where he went, people looked at him warily, for because of the bearskin and his long beard and scraggly hair, sometimes people could not tell if he were a man or if he were a bear. And so soon the people all over the land began to refer to him as Bearskin. Just Bearskin, so much so that they forgot his true name, so much so that he nearly forgot his true name. But he never forgot who he was. He did not let those 7 years go idly by. He used the gold from the green man's green jacket to buy for himself a fine estate and built a beautiful castle. He stocked it well with supplies. He had servants running the whole entire house. But he knew he didn't fit there. He looked like a bear. No one would come to visit him. His servants would avoid him in the hallways. So he decided that he would travel. Spend all the 7 years that he had left traveling around and doing as much good as he could. Wherever he saw someone who was having a hard time, he would easily give them a handful of gold. If he ever saw that there was a town in need, he used the gold from his pockets to give it to every single person that needed it. Even though people shrank from him in fear, and even though he often couldn't get a decent place to stay, whenever anybody truly knew him, they knew him as Bearskin the open-handed, Bearskin the generous. One day he went to a town that hadn't seen him before. He went and knocked upon the house of the inn. The innkeeper opened up the door, saw a bear, and slammed the door in his face. Well, Bearskin was used to this by now. It had been 4 years since he had first put on the bearskin. So he politely rapped on the door again. The innkeeper opened it a touch. "Who are you?" said the innkeeper. "People call me Bearskin. It's cold out. I was wondering, could I have a room?" "You? You look more like a bear than a man. Talk with a man's voice, but have a bear's face." "I understand it might be uncomfortable for you. I'm willing to pay double what you usually charge for any room." "Double, you say?" "No, I can't do it. Even if you could pay quadruple the amount, you would scare all my customers away, and what good would it be if I let one man in but could never let any other person in again because they would flee from the crazy man who let a bear stay in the house?" "I swear to you," said Bearskin, "I will stay in my room. Not a single guest will see my face, and I will leave in the morning." "Well enough," said the innkeeper, and Bearskin paid quadruple what the room was worth. He crept up the back way into the room, and he closed his door, preparing for a very lonely night, when he heard something from the room next door. It sounded like someone crying. It sounded like somebody weeping. It sounded like a man. "Someone's in trouble," thought Bearskin. Promised the innkeeper. "But if it's someone in trouble, perhaps I can help." He opened his door, looked both ways, slipped out of the door, and knocked upon the door next to him. That door, it didn't open for a moment, so he tapped lightly again. The door opened. Bearskin, of course, was used to this kind of behavior, and so he just tapped on the door a third time. And he heard a voice from the other side say, "Go away! Go away! This day has been miserable enough for me, and now I'm going to be eaten by a bear! Just go away!" "I am not a bear," said Bearskin in his most patient and loudest voice. "I just want to help." You can't help! A bear can't help me! "Tell me what's wrong." The door opened a creak. "You really want to know?" "Yes," said Bearskin. Door opened just enough for Bearskin to slip in. He saw before him a middle-aged man with hair graying at the temples, with great big tears flowing from his eyes. "Well, you see, I was a merchant in this village. Not a bad merchant. I was rather good at it, in a matter of fact. I have 3 daughters. 3 beautiful daughters. 3 daughters unmarried. But just today, I lost everything. House, all of my mercantile, everything, every ship, every wagon full of goods is all gone, lost from me. And now, what am I to do? The innkeeper let me stay in here, but he's going to throw me out tomorrow. I can't pay the fare that I told him I could pay, and my 3 daughters are going to grow up like beggar women. Nothing I can do to help them. Now you can eat me." Bearskin laughed. "I'm not going to eat you, but I can help you. If it's a simple matter of money that you need, I have money and to spare." And he reached into his pockets and pulled out a handful of gold. "A bear with gold in his pockets?" "I told you I'm not a bear, and this gold is for you." He let that handful of gold fall into the merchant's palms. "You would do this for me?" "Yes," said Bearskin. "You needn't worry about your daughters or your business or anything else in your life. I just want to help." "Oh, sir!" The merchant fell on his knees to thank Bearskin, and Bearskin waved him away. No need to thank me. Just pray for me. Whatever God you pray to, pray that I will be able to keep my soul." "But sir, you have saved me and my family." "I will let you marry one of my daughters." "Oh, no, said Bearskin. I might not even live for the next 3 years. No, I insist. I will wed you to one of my daughters." "I will tell you what," said Bearskin. "I agree to enter into an engagement with one of your daughters if she will have me willingly, despite what I look like. If she will have me willingly, then I will come for her in 3 years' time." "Very well," said the merchant, and he went out to fetch his daughters. All 3 of them came in, with the merchant jabbering to them of this wonderful benefactor that one of them was going to marry. Well, the eldest came in, took one look at Bearskin, shrieked, and ran right out the door. The second daughter came in, looked him over, smelled him over, and said, "How could I marry a man who doesn't even have the face of a man?" and walked stately out the door. But the youngest daughter came in, saw the man, bare skin, covered in hair, long nails. She said, "He looks like a bear, father. But if it is true that he has saved us, then I will repay him with all the love I have in my heart." Bearskin nearly wept. He approached the girl, and out of his pocket he drew a golden ring. He took it, and in his strong fingers he split it in half, and he gave half to this girl. "Take it," he said. "I will keep the other half. Keep it well. If in 3 years' time I come for you, our engagement stands. If in 3 years I do not come for you, then you are free from this engagement. I only ask that you think kindly of me, no matter what I look like. And he handed her half of the ring. He took his half, spent the night in his room, and left before anybody had woke the next day. He continued to travel around, sometimes thinking of his would-be bride, sometimes thinking about what he would do if he could ever cut his hair again, and especially take a bath. Well, he traveled and traveled around until finally the 7 years were up, and he found his way back to the little clearing by the stream where he had once, 7 years ago, been attacked by a bear. And waiting for him, looking sullen and petulant, was a little man with green-tinged skin and a sulky expression in his eyes. "Well, I see you've made it back all right," the little green man said. "Yes, I have," said Bearskin, "and you were right about this jacket. As gold as many times as I needed it. Yes. Well, that's it then. You may keep your soul and everything else. Wait," said Bearskin. "First, before we leave here, I expect you to cut my hair and beard, cut my nails, and give me a wash." Who won the wager? You did. Fine. So the little green man took care of everything the soldier asked, cut his nails and polished them, cut his hair and washed every part of him, and so his face glowed, and he looked younger and more handsome than even before when he first put on the bearskin. He picked up the green jacket, nodded thanks to the little green man, and trotted off to his mansion, where he put on his finest apparel and stepped into a coach that was drawn by 4 white horses, away to a little village where was waiting for him a merchant and his lovely daughter. Well, he arrived not very long later into this self-same village, and he rapped on the merchant's door. The merchant looked out. The merchant looked out and saw a very fine gentleman standing there. "Oh, sir, welcome to my home." "Thank you," said Bearskin. "Oh, come in, come in. Oh, please make yourself welcome." And he invited him in for dinner. Well, Bearskin was happy to be there, but of course the merchant didn't recognize him at all. He walked into the dining room and sat at one end of the table. The merchant ran in and told his daughters, "Hurry, hurry! There's a handsome gentleman who's probably very rich that one of you might be able to marry if you play your cards right." And so the 2 eldest daughters peeked in at the man and saw how handsome he was and how richly apparelled he was. And they both ran upstairs in a flurry to put on their nicest dresses and do their hair up smartly so that perhaps they could catch the rich, handsome stranger. But the youngest daughter, all dressed in black, merely sat by the fire, looking down at her shoes. Bearskin looked at her and saw she had been crying. "What's wrong?" he said. "Nothing," she said. "It's just that I worry gratefully for someone that I care for very much." "Sorry to hear that," said Bearskin. "Is there anything I can do?" "No." She looked back down at her shoes. "Oh, perhaps I could get you a drink of something." And he picked up a little glass goblet and dropped something inside and handed it to the girl. "There." Well, she didn't want to be impolite, and so she drank the goblet all the way to the bottom and looked in, saw something. What could it be? It was half of a ring. She dropped the goblet, which smashed to the floor, but she didn't care. She picked up a necklace which was around her neck, which held another half of a golden ring, and she fit the two pieces together. Could it be possible? She whispered. Yes, he said. I am Bearskin. And he wrapped her up in his arms. The two elder sisters trotted down from the staircase and peeked in and saw that they would not be marrying a rich, handsome stranger after all. But no, they had refused marriage to the rich, handsome stranger 3 years before that, and he would now be marrying their youngest sister. And he did. And from what I hear, they're still living very happily in the mansion built by Bearskin. You may have noticed that the main character of this story starts out as a soldier. As we continue on, you'll notice that there are quite a lot of stories that have principal soldier characters. Keep an eye out for it. I'm the Story Girl, and thank you for entering my world, though sometimes people call me the Nighttime Wanderer because I don't sleep at all. If you are wanting to hear a specific story, please leave me a comment below and I will look into figuring out what the story is and learning it. Oh, also, if you like this story and you want to hear more, please like this video and subscribe. I want as many people who love stories as much as I do to learn and love the stories that I love. Thank you very much. See you next time.